within 10 miles, and we don't take the opportunity to look at that as a separate, unique market and present ourselves to those students, it's crazy. And they have different views on education. They have different views on all of these things. Let's take a look at this. And when we look at the New York metro area again, African immigrants and West Indian Americans have higher levels of home ownership than their African American counterparts and their white counterparts. So if we want to talk about differences, staggering differences. Higher high school graduation rates, higher college graduation rates, higher percentage of participation in the labor force, higher median household income, higher median family income, higher hourly earnings, more hours worked, so that sends a red flag up for us all the time. Higher overall homeowner rates and higher median home value. We're talking about different populations. And the misnomer that the immigrant population is poor is not necessarily always true. We have to understand where we're looking at this population. And we also have to understand differences in the different groups. So I think this is why I got something really incorrect, but not really. Maximizing opportunity for motivation. Obviously, given the choice, we would prefer to create intrinsic motivation or introduce intrinsic motivators to our students. So that way that they establish that drive. They establish that drive to advance themselves. And here is where I see that opportunity for partnership. And here's where I see that opportunity for transition between 2-year and 4-year colleges. And it's interesting. I had a conversation in preparation for this meeting, and this is where the world is starting to change a little bit. I was speaking to our dean of adult and continuing education. She's phenomenal at the meeting. And I said to her, given this presentation, I said, well, what do you think about this? And she said to me, she said, I never send out a grant application without involving community college. I never send out a grant application without finding an institution for us to partner with to share in the grant. Because in her feeling was that we need to be that we need to create these partnerships so that that way there is some sort of transition between the 2-year and the 4-year institution. How do we do this? Become a role model for student interest. Obviously, we're all role models for student interest. We're all higher educators. We're all there to promote academic growth, academic excellence. But how do we partner with other institutions to create this path? How do we show that there's a path to go from the 2-year institution to the 4-year institution? And I think part of that is bringing folks from the 4-year institution in different capacities, letting them serve as mentors, letting your alumni that leave your 2-year institution and go on to other schools in the 4-year capacity, come back as mentors to mentor students that may potentially be moving in the same direction. Get to know your students. This generation is connected, especially when we talk about the emerging generation. With the emerging generation being so connected, it's all about relationship building. How do we build relationships? How can we create an environment where students become motivated to do something exciting? And something I was talking about in a second is, or going back to my first slide with that study abroad thing, that I hear going and traveling for a semester before you start college, or traveling when you're 25 years old and feel like. How do you incorporate that in a partnership between 2 and 4-year schools? Well, lots of your schools don't have a study abroad option. And a lot of our students have an interest in getting a global case in something. So can we create that foundation? Can we create a common credit barrier, a common credit bond where that was 3 or 6 credits that are transferred back into the associate degree and transferred back into the bachelor's degree. And we create this type of relationship where the 4-year school gets to know the 2-year student, 2-year school, and the 2-year student keep persistent practice. Teach by discovery, engage in cooperative learning. Establish relationships as 2-year institutions with 4-year schools that will acknowledge internship credit. So many schools won't acknowledge internship credit, so work on developing curriculum at 2-year, on the 2-year side of the house, that will transfer into partner institutions on the 4-year side of the house. Be free and praise and constructive criticism that's given. Give students control over their education, to the extent that we can give them flexibility and partner with organizations that can give them flexibility. And place appropriate emphasis on grades and assessment. Then we have our extrinsic motivators. I got it. Read for a second while I stop talking. How many of you would agree that while we need to engage our students with both intrinsic and extrinsic motivators, at the end of the day, the extrinsic motivators have a tendency to either become boring, stale, or short-lived. I find that a lot. You can look at it from a very corporate perspective. If you have a bonus program 1 year, and you achieve the bonus, and then you achieve it every year, at what point does it just become an expectation? Right? At some point, it just becomes an expectation. So what do we do? In developing our partnerships between 2- and 4-year schools, we should set GPAs, gain admission to programs or majors. This generation wants to be informed, and this generation needs to know what they have to do in order to succeed. And for the adult student who has the timeline, they need to know what level they have to perform at in order to achieve their timeline. Build it into agreements. Have it clearly stated somewhere that these are the minimum GPAs required to transition into X, Y, and Z programs at X, Y, and Z institutions. Reward students for positive outcomes. Build in transfer student scholarships. But clearly define what those transfer student scholarships are. If you can clearly define them, then you can work with the student on the 2-year end to ensure that they're successful and that they graduate, and then move them into the 4-year end, knowing that there's a path for them. College GPA and financial aid programs is pretty much similar. What we don't do, this stuff drives me nuts. I don't know if it drives any of you nuts. I hear faculty members who give preferential grading for students who utilize support services. I've heard this everywhere I go, that there are faculty members that do this. It drives me nuts. I don't know about you guys. Giveaways for participation in scholarly activities. The worst of what you do for faculty. We're going to give you an iPad if you show up at this 4-hour conference on something that you're totally not interested in. You need to change your program. You need to change your programming to make it more lively, and you need to engage students in being better students. You can't give them things by giving things away. And someone said to me the other day, our director of advising said to me, she's very disappointed. She said, we held a career major day, we had 1,900 undeclared students, and we had 143 that showed up for it. And I looked at her and I said, well, what are you disappointed about? I said, there are 143 people that were able to declare a major. And she said, well, more of them should have been there. She said, she said to me, but I refuse to give them X, Y, and Z. I said, well, good for you. I said, because those 143 students are engaged. And the others will find their way and will do alternate things to reach those students. But those 143 show that they're motivated. Transition. Passage from one stage, subject or place to another. Time to be politically incorrect again. People laugh at, anybody remember, Dan Clown? People laughed when he said about Murphy Brown, right? When he said about Murphy Brown back then.